yes, yes. No one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it.
And welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. And I always say that we're live from the Acement, and I can actually say it with meaning
For the very first time.
Very first time.
We're actually live.
Because whenever I say it, you always correct me and go, well, we might not be live when they're listening to
It'll
it.
be 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
right.
it's 3 weeks later, but we're actually live right now.
Yes, we
This is exciting.
we've made the announcement. We made the announcement a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, and we're honored. We've been asked to join a Twitch channel.
Yep.
Our friends at Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. This is our inaugural episode on Twitch. You can watch us every week from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday nights.
8:30-ish.
8:30-ish. That was a good lead-in, though. You know, there was fun games going on and stuff like that on Jason's podcast.
They have great shows on this channel,
Yeah.
All week long. So definitely check them out. Twitch.tv/drinks, jokes, and storytelling. Just some amazing shows. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. As usual, you guys have been awesome over the last 4 years as we start year number 5.
Season 5. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And
You guys have been awesome. The support has been great. We're growing leaps and bounds. And now we're adding something new with the actual live recording where you can watch us.
Yeah.
We always say the Acement, the Acement, the Acement. Here
Now
it
you
is.
see it.
This is the
It's
Acement.
nothing special.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a wall with a poster.
0 wow factor, people.
Yeah, I know.
But-
I hope it doesn't, disappoint anyone who's been thinking, wow, it sounds like such a cool place.
It is. It is. I don't care what anybody thinks now that they saw it, because you know what we have?
Yeah, what do we have?
The official bourbon of the Behind the Funny podcast,
Yes.
Jefferson's, and this is Jefferson's Ocean,
Yes.
one of their
is-
higher brands.
This is what's left after 2 weeks of podcast.
As you can see, we enjoy our Jeffersons.
We do. We enjoy our
And we like to
Jeffersons.
thank them
Yes.
for
Even though,
being the lube that keeps the Behind the Funny engine running.
and we'd like to ask them to please send bottles, because that's the only kind of sponsorship we really want.
That's all we want.
Yeah.
That's all we want. We're mentioning you anyway.
I know.
So just,
And actually, Scott has a story to tell.
actually today, a listener told me that she actually complained to me that she was at the package store yesterday
Yeah.
and found herself purchasing a bottle of Jefferson's to try because she heard it on the show, and she has never drank bourbon. Tried it last night and said was very good, and she was complaining that we have now made her a bourbon drinker.
Did you hear that, Jeffersons? Please.
we are helping expand
Yes.
your fans.
Yeah.
So help us help you.
Yes.
That's all we're
Help
saying.
us help you.
So again, thank you for joining us live.
Yeah.
If you're watching right now,
Thank you for the downloads.
Yeah.
The past couple of months have been amazing. We mentioned it on our special announcement
Yes.
a couple of days ago that March was just a stellar month. First time in 4 years. We doubled almost what we've done in February, and even February was fantastic.
Yeah,
So
yeah, the growth has been great, and thanks to you guys. And now with this, you guys,
get to watch.
you can not only can watch, you can interact with us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
If you can chat,
We'll
let
figure
us
that
let
out
us
right
know
now.
that you're watching. Give us some feedback, give us some questions, whatever you want to do. We'd love to hear from you guys. So
Listen, we've already got great comments. Bucket List Experiences says, welcome to the station. We're so excited to have you guys. And Angry Shih Tzu says, drink hoodoo, new emoji. Oh, all right. We have so much to learn about StreamYard and Twitch.
it's going to be so much fun.
We're so old school that we've been doing this just audio for so long that, there's emojis that you can actually create on here. There's special emojis you can get.
They'll be coming up
So-
soon, people. Tune back in future weeks.
Yeah, we'll figure this shit out.
But we wanted to have a great episode for our first episode here on Twitch. And
Yeah.
Ace, being the amazing co-host that he is and great booker,
Please
don't worry, I'll edit that out.
Yeah, no, you never read it.
No,
We
I
all know that.
But Ace does an amazing job booking guests, and he's got a great guest for us tonight.
Yeah, so this guest is no stranger to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, because he actually started the channel, or was one of the
Yes.
guys that started the channel. But about a year and a half ago, I was doing a Funny for Fun show, and Mike Murray called me up. Mike Murray, and he goes, Mike goes, hey, listen, you got that church show, right? And I go, yeah. He goes, you got it booked? I go, yeah. He goes, well, listen, I got 2 other comics that got put on it because I told him I'd put them on the show. So I go, all right.
Typical Mike.
He goes, I go, who are they? And he goes, well, one guy is this guy, Tom Briscoe. I go, I know Tom Briscoe. I've worked with him a bunch of times back when I was working, outside of Boston. He used to be part of that, Gary Marino that I've mentioned before.
We've talked about him many times.
Gary's booked him a ton. And he goes, and this other guy that's with him, I forgot his name, but he's an Italian kid. He's really, really funny. So I was like, okay, we have a show. And so these guys came in, and I hadn't seen Tom in a good 15 years. So it was great to work with him. But let me tell you, this guy, Mark Riccadonna, was one of the funniest guys. He was so laid back. It was literally in my church, like the parish center.
Is it still your church?
It is still my church. Despite James Firth, that was the one where he dropped the P word at church. Yep. And I looked at J.R. Adams and said, did he just say pussy in church? In a church, he said that. Well, luckily, I did some time. Dave Sinclair did some time. J.R. It just ended up being a great show. But one of the standouts that night was this guy, Mark Riccadonna, who you just immediately love this guy because he's just, I don't know, he's just so nice. I know I'm hugging him. He's not even on yet, and I'm already hugging him. But,
okay, get him on.
All right. So then this is how we met, though, because then all of a sudden he reached out and we were talking, and they did this thing on Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling to raise money, which we've talked about.
Awesome.
And we've talked about that show on this podcast. Yeah. It was a couple of months ago. And so I couldn't think of anyone better to bring on as our first guest on Twitch, on his channel, than Mark Riccadonna. So I want to welcome Mark Riccadonna. And if I can figure out this computer shit, because listen, all of a sudden, somehow it went from you being the tech person to me being the tech person.
We're sharing the text.
Yeah, now we're sharing. So we're going to bring him on. And here he is, Mark Riccadonna. We apologize for the longest intro ever.
I don't know,
that's
dude.
What happens when we drink at Jefferson's. That's what happens. The intros get long.
The official bourbon.
Yes.
So first off, I'm jealous. I wish I was having some of that with you.
Dude, person. I wish you were here too.
As soon as we sign the sponsorship agreement and get some free bottles, one is coming your way.
Yes.
Is that I heard about this bourbon that they put on a ship. They actually lower the arms, and it distills under salt water.
This is they put it on the scientific exploring ships for 6 months?
6 months. I don't know if they put it in the water, but what happens is if it's on the ship, it's in the oak barrels, and it just kind of sloshes around, and it picks up more flavor from the from the oak barrels. I don't know if they put it underwater or not.
Yeah, that I'm not.
And I also know Metallica has their own bourbon.
Have you tried that yet?
I haven't.
Aren't they sober?
Yeah, but whatever makes them more money.
They're just making money now.
Listen, times are tough. They haven't been able to work for a few years. So they do concerts.
My nephew is a big bourbon and whiskey collector.
And he said it's good.
And he brought it to the house on Easter.
Oh, did he?
And I got to try some. And you get a numbered barrel.
Yeah,
and they give you the song. What they do with theirs, Metallica, Mark, is they blast their music to the barrels to vibrate the barrels to create a flavor profile.
Yeah.
And he got the song list that was played from his barrel.
That's crazy. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I just like the idea, like, hey, everybody, this is James Hetfield of Metallica, and we're making non-alcoholic tequila. Come and rock with us.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
This is Lars, and we're you're eating the barrels.
We're loving this.
We're loving this.
I know. Well,
we started a podcast, so we had an excuse to drink on Wednesday night.
Exactly.
So
I mean, what better way?
That's the number one reason to do a podcast.
And it's in the title of the channel, Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling.
Right.
Absolutely.
You started with the drinks, not the jokes.
It's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit.
So the reason that this whole baby happened was and this goes, I have an album called Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling, and then I wanted to move it into a podcast with Richie. But the title comes from my favorite time, and I don't know if it's the same with you guys. Every comic's very different. My favorite time when I'm on the road or even just working in the city or whatever is when the show's over and all the lights are on in the club and you see all the dinge, the blemishes on the wall where somebody puked on table 7, and you see all the flaws. And then you sit with the lights on, the worst lighting on the planet. And you sit with like the club owner and whoever else was on the show, and you have cocktails. And you just start talking about life and history of the comedy club, and the waitresses tell you who the biggest asshole was. And, and you just laugh your ass off. And if you're lucky, you leave the club and the sun starts coming up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But like that to me is like the magic time of show business.
Mark, did you ever do comics when it was at Foxwoods?
Oh boy, I think I did it once with DJ Hazard.
Okay, because they were on after the Saturday Late Show. They cleared the place out, and whoever was the national act that was doing the theater. Or the Grand Theater would come in, and all of the regular comics that work in the club that weekend were there, and then the staff. And it was exactly what you just said. The lights are on, everyone's having drinks, everyone's shooting the shit. That's where I met like Brian Regan, because he had done the theater, and he came over and watched our late show and then hung out with us afterwards. And it's just everyone just exactly what you said. Just shooting the shit, saying who's assholes, who's nice guys, who's this, and it's awesome. It is so much fun.
Well, and Scott started this podcast similarly. He was a fan of Inside the Actor's Studio with James Lipton. And so he was like, what would that be like with comics? Let's go behind like what made them start doing comedy.
Well, when I started, I used to like when I first time I worked with Tony V. And I'd ask him a few questions, and oh my God, these guys would just open up and start telling me these stories. And I'm like, someone should record some of these stories and put them out there for people, because there's some amazingly funny stories. And that was where the concept of this kind of came from, is that the stories that they tell each other. You know?
And because that's what we are, comics. And it doesn't matter if you're famous, not famous, new, old. Everyone's with story.
Well, we're all in the same. And we're all in this same business. So it's like the difference between the MC and the headliner is just years.
Experience.
We're all in the same boat. And I love that about comedy. And and what's funny is we're talking about doing, a podcast because we want to have these stories. But I think the very first podcast, like legitimately, I think is Rich Scheidner's I Killed book. Like that's like the first podcast ever. You're actually hearing.
And you pointed out the thing that Robin Williams did way back.
Back in the early 2000s, very few people know about this. It was right around 2001, 2002. Robin Williams did a show on Audible.com. It was just simply called Robin Williams at Audible.com. And it was once a week, 30-minute episodes. And it was a conversation he had with somebody. And it wasn't always comedians. He talked to Walter Cronkite. He talked to Billy Crystal. He talked to Whoopi Goldberg, obviously. He had Bonnie Raitt on. He had Huey Lewis on. And they would usually...
Did he ask him, Huey Lewis, about his junk?
He didn't do that,
because I heard Huey Lewis is hung like two beer cans.
Is he hung like Milton Berle?
It's supposed to be right up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's legendary that he is.
I opened for Huey Lewis once, but that did not come up at the conversation.
Thank God.
Although,
because you didn't have to earn your spot that night.
No. Well, luckily.
The hard way.
Keep in mind,
hey, I tell you.
Keep in mind, when I opened for Huey Lewis, there were 3 trailers. There was Huey Lewis's trailer, there was the news trailer, and then there was the backing band that weren't the news. Huey Lewis, the news, and then the other guys. And I was with the other guys.
The old news.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you guys play saxophone, huh?
Ace had a porta potty.
Yeah, I was in a porta
You mean
potty.
you were with the Tower of Power horns?
Yeah, no, there wasn't the Tower of Power. It was just 2 or 3 other guys.
But I remember I stumbled on it by accident because I was a huge Robin Williams fan, and the first episode I listened to was him with Walter Cronkite, and I was just totally. I used to listen.
Interesting.
It was because Robin Williams knew how to flip that switch to be in the moment funny or let me have this serious conversation. He had a guy on, a reverend from Chicago that they worked with a lot after Comic Relief to help. This guy did a lot for the homeless, and they worked with this guy. So he had him on talking about what he did for the homeless. So he had people from all walks. Buddy Hackett was on one of my favorite episodes. Fun. But he had Rick Overton, which I don't think enough people know of Rick Overton.
Rick was the star of my pilot. I had a pilot, was he? And him and Paul Provenza were my 2 leading men.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just can't. If I could just live inside Rick's brain for a weekend.
He's genius, right?
It'd be like a psychedelic vacation.
So well said, because when Rick was on Robin's show, that was a 3-parter. It was the only 3-parter they had, and it was not an interview or conversation. They literally went from different bit and scenario to bit where they played different characters. They were joking with each other. They did this one bit where Rick Overton was this completely inappropriate scout leader, and Robin Williams was the young Boy Scout that was sleeping in his tent with him on the sleepover. and they just got into character and played these different parts, and it's hilarious. And it's kind of funny because I just not too long ago found that I had burned all those to CDs. And we were in our attic because we had a roof leak, and we had a bunch of CD cases, and I was going through them, and I saw Robin Williams at Audible.com, and I have all of them, and I put them on my computer, and I download them on my phone, I re-listen to them again.
Man.
Him, with Bonnie, I forget her last name.
Bonnie Raitt?
No, he was in Jumanji with her.
Oh, Bonnie. Oh, yeah.
The 2 of them,
the actress,
because she's very funny and witty, but at the same time she stays very clean. So every time Robin started to get a little dirty, she'd go, "Oh, you're dancing in Blue Land again," and make him come back. And he would be able to play off of whatever the guest gave him. Bonnie Hunt. Thank you.
See, the technology.
Okay, so did you guys ever listen to a guy named Bob Edwards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy is my hero.
Really?
I'm dead serious. When for the first time I listened to his show, I fell in love with it, and that's what I was going. That's what I want to do, and that was before podcasting became a thing. And then podcasting became a thing, and I felt like everybody's doing it. How am I going to stand out? And then at one point, I went, "Who cares?" Like 10 years ago, you said you wanted to do what Bob Edwards does, so just go do it.
Just do it. Exactly. Right. And here's what we found, so we're going into our 5th season. If you put out consistent content and good content, people will start listening. And
I think the other thing is it has to be authentically you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
we're us.
Don't put on an act.
No.
I drink bourbon Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday too.
We added Wednesday to it.
We just added Wednesday to it. But I love, we'll hang out with comics after shows and have the same type of conversations and stuff. So this is authentically who we are and the things that we're interested in.
Right.
And I think
love that.
I think that shows to the audience when they hear you talk that we get excited when we talk to people. We love hearing and sharing these stories.
Yeah, and this isn't a phone.
I think it translates. Right.
Yeah.
We've never, ever had an episode like that, ever. We love learning about our guests.
Yeah. I mean, and what's interesting is we've had people, obviously we've had friends that we've known. There were some episodes where we didn't know the person at all, or they didn't know us. And by the end, they're like, that was so much fun. I didn't know what to expect. I mean,
few of those were scary.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we didn't know how it was going to go. When someone turns around and says, "Now, how long is this thing?" And then we're like, "Well, if you could stay on for 45 minutes or, whatever you're comfortable with." And then the next thing you know, Judy Carter, we had Judy Carter,
from the
Comedy Bible.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And she was like, "How long is this thing?" And you could tell she was doing it to be nice. but wondering like how much is
when Ace told her we usually could do about 45 minutes, she goes, well, we'll see how it is after about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what she said, and we're like, oh shit.
So you know what? But you know what?
She
was on for an hour.
Yeah.
And she was like, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. You know?
Yeah. So similar with Richie and I, we've pulled some strings and asked friends that
of course.
A little above our pay grade, but we figured, hey, maybe they'll come in. Yeah. And they always say the same thing. How long do you want us to go on?
Right.
And we always go, if you can give us a half hour.
Yeah.
You just give us a half hour.
Right.
Every single time somebody's asked that, they've stayed on over an hour.
Yeah.
We went over so many times because
oh my God.
You get caught up with friends and you get caught up. I mean, there's so many times that when we were doing it just audio and we were trying to keep them between a half hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That we would have them in the studio at the comic strip. And next thing you know, we go, well, this is going to have to be a 3-parter because we were in here for 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did the same thing. One of our favorite episodes is so we had the original owner of the Comedy Connection in Boston, Paul Barkley, right? And we had him on, and he talked about kind of the genesis of Boston comedy and how it started.
Oh my God, that's like
and I don't know if you've ever
exactly. That's like the encyclopedia of history that we had that episode.
And I don't know if you've ever seen Fran Salamida's When Stand Up Stood Out.
Oh, I love it.
All right, so
I mean, the guy who introduced me to the road was DJ Hazard.
All right, DJ was in that as well. So one of the things that we were talking about with Paul was about how in the clubs back in the 80s, you used to get played onto music, like there were piano players at the clubs, and he goes, this guy Martin Olson was hilarious, and he was a piano player, and then he went on and he was he went on to do writing and stuff like that. So he goes, you guys got to get Martin on. So I said, well, after the show, I said, do you mind trying to reach out to him? Because I've never met him. Scott's never met him. We had Martin Olson on. What were we on? 2 hours?
Yep.
And by the end of it, we felt like he was like, you guys are so much fun. If I come to the East Coast, I want to get a beer with you guys. Meanwhile, all this guy did was talked about all of the other comics. And he glossed over his own career. And he was like, oh, yeah, so I worked for Disney for a while. And I look up what he did for Disney. And I go, wait a minute, Martin, stop talking about DJ Hazard and Don Gavin and everyone else. You were the head writer and showrunner for Phineas and Ferb for 18 years. What the fuck?
Yeah,
like, come on.
He gave himself no credit whatsoever.
But he was so much fun. He was so much fun.
Yeah, and that's been one of the best parts about doing this is when you get to meet these people that you never met before, and by the end of it, you almost feel like you made this connection with them.
Yeah,
and and when they say stuff like that and they compliment you, and you're like, we get off, and afterwards we're like two giddy little kids. We're like, Martin said he had fun with us.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
He wants to have a beer with us.
So, okay, I got a question for you because this year has been so hard, and you guys are the very same boat as Richie and I. We've been doing it almost the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And it was started out as audio, and now you guys are moving into video, and this is exciting times. Now, this last year has been insanely rough on everyone.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any regrets on guys that you should have gotten before they either blew up or maybe passed away?
Oh,
not big name people, but we had a friend of ours.
We had a friend of ours. Literally, we knew he was sick. He had. Oh my God! I just lost
testicular cancer.
No, it wasn't testicular. It was
prostate.
Prostate cancer. Stage 4 prostate cancer, which was amazing in itself because usually prostate cancer, if it's caught early, is very treatable. So we don't know what happened, but I talked to him the week before. We set it up. We were supposed to February 15th of 2020. We were supposed to record with him. And then we were recording with Tom Cotter and Kerry Louise because they were down at Foxwoods. Foxwoods.
They were Foxwoods. No,
Mohegan for the weekend. So we were going to Dave's house, and then we were going to Kerry and Tom. And Dave passed away the day before.
Oh, man.
And Dave was one of the original Rhode Island guys. In Rhode Island, we started, the very first comedy club was a place called Periwinkle's.
I love that name.
Yeah, I know. It was a funny name.
It was a great club.
It was a great club. But Dave was one of the original guys. So when I started, he was like one of the guys that took me under his wing, and he had been doing it like 2 or 3 years. And that was probably one of the worst.
Yeah, because I talked to Dave on Wednesday that week, 2 days before he passed. John Parada was visiting him.
Yeah.
John called me and said, Dave wanted to talk to you for a minute. And
yeah.
Dave asked how I was doing. And he goes, oh, I love you, brother. I go, you too. I can't wait to talk to you Saturday. He goes, yeah, see you Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was like just
that was it.
It didn't sound like he was horrible or anything like that. And I was like, okay. And then Ace called me and told me, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And that was the one that we're like, you sit there and go, should we have scheduled it sooner? Should we have made more time? And
we ended up still doing a tribute show. What we did was we got a panel of other comics that all started at Periwinkle's and did a tribute show. And then at the end, we put some clips of Dave, at the end of the show. But that was probably one of the bigger ones. I don't know if there's been anyone that we wished we've had several people we've reached out to that we wish we could get, and some of them don't answer you. Some of them don't answer.
That happens.
A few people have said, hey, listen, I've just been doing a ton of these because of COVID. I'm going to take a couple of months off from doing podcasts, but reach back out to me in June, or one guy moved to another country and he's like, hey, let me get settled out here and then I'll do it. But we're trying. You know what? The funny thing is, you just ask.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. I never thought I'd get Judy Carter on, or we had Bobby Collins came on, and Bobby was one of those guys who was like, now
AOL Bobby.
Yeah, how long is this going to be? And we're like, about like a half hour, but he was on for a good hour, right?
The episode was an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. So
we had the same person, Bobby Collins. How long?
Yeah.
How long are we doing this?
Yeah, but then
he ended up like him and Rob Bartlett both came on the marathon show. Like, we only asked them to come on once because we didn't want to over ask.
Yeah,
they both came on like 5 times.
Yeah, right. I know. I was on one of the times because I came on a few times on the Sunday, and Rob Bartlett came on, and the whole time he's telling that story, and he's literally crying, and I don't even remember what the hell the story was. I'm going, I don't know this guy, but he's crying and he's telling this real heartfelt story. I have a feeling he's going to be at the end of this. He's going to be like, you fucking guys are idiots. You guys, you guys believe this shit?
Did he do that?
That's exactly what he did at the end. At the end of the story, he was like, oh my God, you guys fucking fell for that. It's great. It was awesome. So, well, listen. What we normally do, because we really do want to get to know you too. So we want to go behind the funny with you. So what year did you start doing comedy?
So a lot of comics hate me for this. I don't actually even remember my first time. I don't.
You don't
have
remember your first time on stage?
No. It was I worked at a comedy club.
And
I know there was a few times where they were like, why don't you go on and, mess around? I wasn't trying to be a comic.
I see.
And I went up. For the club? I was the door guy. I answered phones. I bartended.
Yep.
And then as people got fired, I moved up the food chain. I became the night manager. I ended up a booker. Yep. I ended up the GM.
Was that stand-up? Wait a minute. Stand-up New York?
Wait a second. You couldn't have been a booker for too long because you seem too happy and nice. And,
Well, he hasn't booked in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't book no more.
Okay, that's what it is.
And when I was doing that, I was like, we're talking like 22 years old, and I was running an A-list club in New York City.
Yeah.
And the people who were above me that worked, were the bookers, they taught me everything, and they were they were really great people to me. And I ended up, I was going up, and we had Lisa Lampanelli on earlier. And that was one of the big things that nobody wanted to go on after her.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be bitching comics would be bitching that they didn't want to go on because Lisa's on. And I remember I used to go, yeah, fuck you guys, I'll go on.
Really?
Like, I'll go on. I don't care. I'm not even a comic. And I'll go on.
Right. Well, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah. And so I would go up. I would bomb horribly. I didn't care. What were they going to do? Not book me? I wasn't a
booker. Brilliant. What am I going to do? Kick myself out?
You know, Mark, in all fairness, when you're just a comic and you're there, we're looking at that very differently than the guy that's booking the shows.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially,
so I was just the door guy at this point.
Yeah.
So I was and I would have comics complaining they didn't want to go on. And I go, okay, I'll go up. And when the room cools down, light me. Yeah. And I'd go up and I'd just tell stories or be a character or mess around or, you know, whatever it took to get the room to stop talking about. Can you believe that? Just, oh my God, she's so crazy. That was
right.
Next thing you know, when they stop and they realize, oh, there's still a show going on. And it's
right. Yeah.
As soon as they started paying attention to me, they'd click the light. I'd go, all right, there's so much more show to go. Good night.
You truly started comedy just to be the, cool them down guy.
Yeah, or they would.
Your intention wasn't to be a comic. You were just going up there because others didn't want to go up there.
I loved stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
loved it, but I thought there is zero chance of me doing it. Like, there's no way that this is what I'm going to do.
You just got a job at a club, and
I was an actor going, hey, I can get people to pay attention to me.
I get immediate feedback. Yeah.
So when did you know that, okay, I can kind of do something with this? And
so I secretly
go down this avenue.
I secretly started writing bits and doing. I realized I was telling the same stories when I'd go up because this one would get people to listen, or this one was funny, or whatever. And so I started writing everything down secretly in my notebook and doing exactly what comedians do, but under the camouflage of I don't care.
Right.
So it was a little bit of an insecurity thing of if I bombed, I got to go, who cares? I don't even want to be a comic. Like,
right.
But if it went well, it was like, I think I could do
this is nice. Yeah, I like this.
And so I was doing the spots nobody wanted. The checks would go out, I'd go up. Time to throw somebody out of the club, put me on. I'll pick a fight with the guy.
Right.
I'll say something, so then he'll speak up, and then you guys throw him out.
And then you bounce him, right.
And then, all right, more show to come, and I get off stage. So, like, I was just having fun doing this. And then at a certain point, I had some comics go, hey, you're really good at rounding up, hurting an audience. And one of my favorite things somebody ever said to me is that I could turn a crowd into an audience. Not necessarily that I kill, but I could get a group of people to pay attention and be ready for a show.
Right. Yeah, which is what the host's job is, right?
Yeah.
You're a good host.
Yeah, so these great comics work in the city. I mean, a regular city show would be like, the host would be Pete Dominic, and then it would be like, Bill Burr's doing a set, Lisa Lampanelli, Jim Norton, Jim Gaffigan, Dave Attell, like all on one show.
Just stopped in, and
and you were talking about Robin Williams. I remember him coming in all the time.
Yeah,
and I'd had all these great comics go, that was crazy. Like, you went up during like a riot and got these people to become a good crowd, an audience, not a crowd. And that was like a big thing that made me love doing it.
Yeah.
And then I all of a sudden started getting guys like Greg Giraldo go, hey man, you have a car. If you drive me to this gig, you get the crowd going. I'll throw you some money, and then I'm going to do an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is like 10 minutes up top and drive.
Right.
And I'm like, seriously? Like,
wow.
There's going to be money involved? All right.
You mean you can get paid for this shit? Right?
So next thing you know, it was like, I wasn't going up against the crowds that were necessarily riot-like. You know what I was going up to a crowd that was waiting for a comedy show.
Right.
And all of a sudden I was getting laughs, and I didn't have to work so hard. And I was like, this shit's easy.
What are you guys bitching about? This one's easy.
When the audience actually is listening, this is so much easier.
Well, you tested yourself in some tough situations. So that made it seem a lot easier.
But to your point, not everyone can get the crowd. Some crowds that are unruly or not listening, not everyone can get them to focus their attention.
Right.
Yeah. You know, so you had the talent of getting them to focus, and then the added talent of getting them to laugh.
So, but now that we have my perspective of the time.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you what probably really happened. I would bomb my ass off. Every time I went up, I would bomb. But if I got one laugh in my head, I was like, I got them laughing. It was great.
Because you didn't care.
Yeah.
Right.
So after a little while of going out and doing it where the audience was actually listening, I started to really hit the notebook. Yeah. And I started to really take it serious. And I started at the club wanting to get nicer spots so I could actually try to see if this bit would work. Yeah. And I slowly became like a real comic. And that's why I say I don't necessarily know when my first spot was.
Fair enough.
I know it was probably late 2001, 2002.
Okay.
Early 2002.
That's when I started.
And it was probably like a year or so of like not really doing it, but going up. And there was one moment, and I think I talked about this the other day on the podcast. One of the big moments to me was I had like 4 spots in the city, but I also had an audition really early in the morning. And I ran around and I did the spots, and I was high off of, performing. I got home to my apartment. It's like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And I start going over my lines for this audition, and I'm working my ass off trying to get the lines down and get prepared for the audition. And I went, I think if I really gave it a shot, I could do comedy.
Wow.
This acting thing is my dream. It's what I want to do, but I think I actually have a shot at comedy. And if I don't take it, I'm going to look back on it and go, I should have tried.
Yeah.
Because it was just a lot of fun. You know what I mean? And then when I started caring, I started noticing, holy shit, I got to get my stuff together because I'm bombing.
Right.
I'm not doing as good as I think I am because I don't care.
Then you saw the real performance, right? Exactly.
Yeah, because there was a lot of me too that was like, when I wasn't taking it serious, it was like, are you kidding? I'm going to go down to this club, do 10 minutes. They're going to let me drink all night.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. I don't even care about the spot. I want the drinks.
Right.
But then all of a sudden I started falling in love with the actual writing, performing, and all that stuff. And it became a different machine.
Right.
And
that's when you started taking it really seriously.
Well, that's when it becomes the art of comedy.
Yeah. And it's, I still love acting. I think it's amazing. I love theater. But I fell in love a lot with the writing of comedy that got me into writing scripts. I got into, I actually love like directing and working with actors, but specifically with comedians who act. Yeah. Because we speak the same language.
Right.
I feel like I can connect and ask the right questions and connect with the actor.
Yeah.
And they don't think like, oh, this is just some idiot. Like, because I can talk to them for real about, what needs to be portrayed. And
it's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys.
Don't do it again.
Hey. It's a very difficult situation.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation.
Very difficult. Yeah. But it's funny you mentioned that because we were talking about the Robin Williams thing earlier. Is in one of those episodes, he had said that he believes that comedians make very good actors because they are willing to take chances.
Oh, yeah.
They're willing to take risks.
Because nothing's scarier than getting up on stage and trying a new bit.
Because he said when he was on Inside the Actor Studio, you can successfully pretend to be serious. You cannot pretend to be funny.
Right.
You either are or you are not. There is no in between.
And that's why I think comic actors don't get the props that they deserve, because you look at Jim Carrey, who was amazing in The Truman Show and amazing in some of the serious roles. Same thing with Robin Williams. Really, really good. But you can't make a serious actor funny. They might be funny and they might pull it off, but if you're a serious actor and they're not funny, you can't act funny.
But and the reason I bring that up is because Mark, being involved in directing and writing and working with comedians, do you find that same thing, or is it like some other people say where comedians are hard to corral and get them to focus?
So I disagree with that. I think certain comedians are hard to do that with, but okay, so there's two separate things that I'll go with here. Mm-hmm. One is you're talking about like an actor or a comedian being able to act, like how they're able to do this stuff. Is okay, let's say we're all athletes and sports is art. It's an easier way to think about it, I think.
Yeah.
Is if I'm a true athlete, a track and field runner, and that's like a comedian, and now you're asking me to play football, I can easily make that transfer. Right. It might take a little thing because I'm going, oh shit, I'm going to run, but people are going to try to hit me. So I have to learn a couple things, but I can transfer into that. Right. And then you want to become get in the directing, but that would be like playing baseball. Well, I'm a runner, so now I just have to learn a couple things, and I'm able to swing a baseball bat and run the bases. I'm able to field a ball. We're athletes. It's just tuning your muscles to which sport you're playing.
To the specific sport. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
And I also feel like comedy has such an advantage of everything else because, if you're like a lily pad, a comedian is their own writer, they're their own director, they're their own producer, they're their own logistics agent when it comes to booking road work, they're their own agent, they do everything that every other artist does.
Promotion, advertising, right?
All at the same time. Yeah. Where an actor just worries about acting. I act, and that's what I worry about. Somebody else writes the lines. You don't like it.
Someone else is promoting it. Somebody else is
directing it. Somebody else. Yeah. Comedians do everything. So it's easy for them to step into a different field and jump off that lily pad onto another one where actors can't necessarily become writers.
That makes sense. Yeah. And so let me ask you this, because you've talked about, acting, you've talked about comedy. What are some of your wow moments in your career? Like, what are some of the things that you've done that you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. Or I can't believe I'm in this place. Like,
for a guy that didn't know he was going into comedy to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah, this whole thing's kind of a wow.
Isn't it? Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, listen, I remember going to the Comedy Connection in Boston and seeing this new, big, massive doorman going, hey, what's up, man? And shaking my hand. And I'm going, wow, that guy is fucking huge.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like a couple of years later, I'm like, I'm looking at I was hosting one night and I'm looking at the list of comics and I'm going, Patrice is going up? Patrice O'Neill is one of the comics on the show tonight? Like, he was the doorman. That's so cool. And then he just fucking killed all the time, and he was slaying them. I
got reminded this week, unfortunately, of one of my wow moments, because a bunch of people were posting about John Panette's passing. And, John Panette, I got to open up for him basically by accident one night. He was doing a Thursday night at the Connection in Providence, and whoever the opener was canceled last minute.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call at 5:30. Can you be here at 7:30 to open up for John Panette tonight?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be there. So I went and
cancel the anniversary dinner.
I didn't even call her.
Yeah. She's still waiting at the restaurant.
Sitting there waiting at
didn't even go home. And he couldn't have been nicer, and just warm-hearted, hilarious guy. And then 6 months later, he came back to the Connection and he asked for me to open up for him.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was my wow moment when I got a phone call. Hey, John's doing 2 shows on a Friday night, and he asked if you could open up for him. And I was like, holy shit, that's the first national guy
Yeah.
that asked for me to be his opener.
I used to get that with the Amazing Jonathan and with Bobby Slayton. Like for a while, like for like 8 or 10 years, every time those guys came to Providence, I was with them.
That was I just got reminded that yesterday. Max Docelli
posted
his picture and everything. And
can you believe we lost Panette, Kevin Meaney, and Vic Henley all in the same time frame, but not the same year.
Yeah,
right.
But like three of the greatest comedians.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
all like not spread out. Not one was. It was like all in the same week, but different years.
And nice guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Guys too, not just funny guys, but nice guys.
Yeah. I think one of the to me the proudest moment of stand-up is when I realized, like, for 20 years I've paid my rent, paid my bills, I have 2 kids and a wife, and it's all from comedy. Yeah. It's all comedy. Like my day job, if you look at my resume, you take away comedian, it goes to like door guy at the comedy club, lemonade stand. Like that's it. There's 2 other things on it, you know.
Yeah. Well, here's what this is what's funny about comedy. You're talking about your resume. If I look at my resume, I'm pretty accomplished during the day, and I feel like shit because I don't have doorman at the comedy club or you know what I mean, because I'm one of those guys that has the regular day job and does comedy at night, and I feel like less of a comic.
I know, but there's no way you should feel less of doing it because of a day job. You should be proud that you have the stability to be able to do.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know.
Let me tell you, Mark, I never wanted to tell the working national touring comics that I had a day job.
Yeah.
But last year after COVID, I have no problem talking about my day job now.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy
kept my head above water this past year.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. I mean, right now, because of how the unemployment's going, like my retirement is gone. My savings account gone.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you'll get a lump sum. And it's like, yeah, but I can't put 50 grand in a 401k or whatever, you know? It's
right.
It's gone.
Now, like, have you ever done the cruises?
So
that's what everyone says. That's the way to make money is because listen, I'm telling you right now, I already have it in my retirement plan. I've been talking about
this forever.
I am retiring. I work for a medical company, right? I'm in medical sales. I am retiring in
legal drug push.
Legal drugs.
So if I give you like $20 on a spot, can you give me the Johnson and Johnson?
I don't have Oxy. I can hook you up with vaccines though. Yeah. No, but I keep saying it. I'm retiring in 7 years. I'm moving to Florida, right outside of Tampa, and I am gonna fucking hit every cruise line. I'm gonna write an hour clean. I already have the half hour. I'd probably have.
I was gonna say you're close to that now.
I have an hour and a half at least of standard material that I could do, but I want to do like more. Get a little bit more clean stuff, and I just want to go on cruise ships twice a month for like 2 weeks.
And the retirement communities.
Mike McCarthy.
So basically, your retirement plan was my 2019. I signed a contract.
Your retirement plan was his day job in 2019.
Every other comic.
In 2019.
Live my dream as a comic when I retire.
So,
when you're done peddling your drugs.
But see, and the irony, when I retire, I just want to do drugs.
Yeah, so, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, right.
No, but
the camera.
So completely, in all honesty,
full circle right there. That's full circle.
Yeah.
When I first started doing stand-up and like doing stand-up, being a stand-up comic, not the door guy bit.
Yeah.
Everybody looked down at cruise comics because they're like, these people disappear and they whatever.
Yeah, they make money. That's what they do.
But as things started tightening, well, it was like a mafia. You could only get in if you were part of this thing
group. Yeah.
And it slowly went away. And now I'm seeing comics that I look up to that I think are the greatest comics working, and they're all doing cruise ships. And I started asking them, like, so what changed your mind? All of a sudden now you're cool with doing cruise ships. And they're all like, A, the money is amazing, and B, now with the internet, you're not gone. Right. Or like back when the cruise ships didn't have as good of internet, and back probably even before there was internet, when you got a ship contract, you might as well say you disappeared for months, you know?
Right.
Because even when you came back on land, you would make the phone calls, but then you would have to go back out.
Exactly. Yeah, it was tough to coordinate because you couldn't call from the ship to try and book in 2 months when you're off the ship.
Yeah. So like you kind of like, okay, this is it. You're only going to do cruises now because you're under that thumb. But something that happened, so I started to be more open to cruise ships, and then I got booked, and this speaks volumes for my career and who I am as a comic. Yeah. I got booked for the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Yep.
Where I was opening for John Corabi, Night Ranger, Crocus, Faster Pussycat. I'm opening for all these heavy metal bands
Sorry, that's kind of cool.
That is cool. But we also have talked about how horrible it is for a comic to have to open up for a band.
Bands.
I have a whole thing on that. Let's go back to that.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go back to that. But I want to. So I got hired to do that, and I go, I could do cruise ships if it's like this. Like this is, I get it, and it's whatever. And then I got a contract with Disney Cruise Lines, which is the exact opposite of the Monsters of Rock.
Monsters of Rock, yeah, right.
And they put me out for 2 weeks on a trial, 2 different weeks, not back to back, but 2 different weeks. And I ended up scoring this huge contract with them.
Wow.
COVID hits, and I go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. COVID's going to be like a month.
Yeah, right.
My cruise contract doesn't open till November, the end of November, and then it goes like 4 months. And I'm like, there's no way in November of 2020 this pandemic's still going to be going on. Cut to a year later.
Yeah.
Hey, I think clubs are opening.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Well, you know what? I'm doing a shitty job of watching the chat, and I feel bad because I don't know who Bucket List Experiences is, but they're watching and they're interacting. So I want to put up. I want them to write back because they said, "LOL, I am that everyone." So go back and go back in the comments and tell us what the hell we were talking about when you said that. I apologize. I'm not the
it's
tech
new
to this.
It's fun. It's very.
How do I do this? I can show this.
That is the perfect example of who we are with this podcast. We get so into the conversation.
That's the thing. We're more involved in the conversation. I know.
We got to remember we have outside things to pay attention.
So if they're still on. Bucket List Experiences.
Oh no, he said, fine, they're not listening to me. Fuck them. I'm out of here.
They're ignoring me. Screw that.
So the
behind the funny guys are dicks.
I know. Well, come back on and tell us in the comments what you meant, and I promise I'll put it up. But Mark, you said you wanted to get back to
yes, so opening for bands.
Yes.
Now I would say my specialty in stand-up, the thing that I really feel like, we all think we're good at something, but we're all great at something, and find what you're great at.
Right.
And that's what can be your thing to move forward.
Yeah.
I think if you put me in front of whatever audience you put me in front of, I can adjust what I have in my toolbox to make the people in front of me enjoy it to the best of my ability. I'm not going to say I can kill in front of anyone, but I can do my best to work where I think there are a lot of people who won't change what they do.
Right.
Because they're going, I'm an artist and I do it this way.
Right. Yeah. This is my art. This is
how I do it.
If you don't get it.
But my scenario is, and this is why I love street jokes. This is why I love street jokes so much. If you were going to tell a street joke to each other, and then you were going to tell that same street joke to your grandma, I bet you'd tell it different.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't tell your grandma, no, fuck you, grandma. I'm going to do it this way because that's my art. You would go,
right.
You don't know my grandma.
Yeah.
You don't know my grandma, Mark.
His grandma's pretty brutal.
Yeah. She's a hard bitch. That's all I'm saying.
But I get what you mean.
No, I know what you're saying. You'd adjust it to who you're telling that joke to.
So if I walk out in front of an audience and they're in suit and ties, it's a corporate event.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say shit.
Right.
I might say crap.
Or crap.
Or poop. Right. Or yeah, I would adjust it. Where there are people that are like, no, they're going to have to hear it the way I want to tell it.
Exactly.
And to me, it's like, well, then you're failing. And then if you do that, you're going to limit yourself where you play, and you can't complain that you don't get the good jobs.
Everyone, from the very beginning of anyone mentoring me has said, it's easier to make a clean joke dirty than make a dirty joke clean.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay, do you guys know Rich Scheidner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he does a thing on his Zoom shows where he goes to the audience, all right, pick someone. Pick any comedian. I got a story about him. You yell out any comic.
Mm-hmm.
Any comic. He has a story about him.
Yep.
Now, that's amazing. That shows his years he's put in. But what's really amazing, and this shows how great of a writer he is, he never has the story where that person's the bad guy in the story. Oh, that guy, he's an asshole. I'll tell you about the time he shit in the condo and didn't fly. Like, it's always a positive story making that person look good, and it's always funny. And you go, that's a good writer.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
Can you, think about, even go to Jerry Seinfeld.
Yep.
He's not a positive guy.
Right.
When it comes to his material, it's what's the deal? Who are these people?
Right.
Why is this a thing?
Why is this like this? I don't get it.
But it's like, he's a clean comic, but it's always because it's easier to point out the negatives. Can you point out a positive and make it funny? Shit, that's tough.
That's even tougher, right?
I'm thinking about that now because I'm going through.
So comedy's all about is shitting on people.
I'm going through my act in my head because I got to do. I'm closing a show tomorrow night. Thank God, finally got one.
Back to work.
Yes, I know. I'm all excited. I get to do 45 minutes, and I'm like going through stuff in my head, and then I'm going through the new stuff that I just got to try out recently, and I'm like, God, it's all complaining about shit.
But I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I'm not complaining about it.
No,
but I'm like, to be able to take, put a positive spin and make it funny, that's a talent. That's a talent. It's almost a different muscle to exercise. To do something like Rich Scheidner, I really enjoyed. He was in that one of those documentaries, Road Comic.
I Am Comic.
I Am Comic. Yeah. That was interesting watching him go back to comedy and try it again and write stuff and get into it. That was really interesting to watch him. He was a likable guy.
It was that movie Comedian with Jerry Seinfeld, but a not famous version.
Right, exactly.
Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a working class blue collar guy getting back to art.
It was the Orny Adams side of
comedian. Not even because Orny had
I'm busting balls because I used to work with Orny all the time.
But Orny had the benefit of Jerry's agent and stuff like that. Whereas Rich Scheidner in this documentary, I mean, the first show they show him in is like this regular sports bar type of place where they didn't turn the TVs off and all the typical shit that we talk about. And he's got to get up there and make it work. And it was pretty funny to watch because I'm like, God, I've done that 100 times before in a place like that.
We actually did an episode of this on like season one or two, and we had a panel of comics, and we tried to come up with a list of
10 things.
10 things, and we couldn't narrow it down to 10. We had 12. And the episode is called "You Know It's Going to Be a Bad Gig When." And so when a comic walks into a room and you see any of these 12 things, you know it's going to be a shit gig.
My name's on the lineup.
No, I didn't make it, Mark.
We could make that lucky 13 though, baby.
Just to give you a few examples, sports bars where they're going to leave the TVs on but mute them
during playoffs.
Especially during playoffs.
Kids are in the audience.
The
comedy show is a surprise
to the audience. The audience
doesn't
know there's a show.
That's
The backyard barbecue.
Yeah, the backyard barbecue / pool party.
Yeah.
Bob Marley. Bob Marley, we had him on, and he told this story about
one of the best stories.
He got hired to do. He had been doing like comedy at this like pizza place, and the owner was a Greek guy, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna come and you can do Yaya's birthday party.
You do your show for Yaya.
You do your show for Yaya." He goes, "All right, now
it'd be nice. I make a good dish. Very good.
Yeah, that type of guy."
He goes, "Now what I want you to do, you go hide it behind that tree, and when Yaya comes out, I want you to yell Yaya and
surprise
and surprise her." Well, Yaya pulls into the thing with like a Cadillac or a Buick. Or
he said it was a Cadillac Brougham.
He goes, I jump out. I go, Yaya! And Yaya hits the gas pedal instead of the brake and plows into him. It almost breaks his knee. And the guy starts yelling at Bob, "Why you do that to Yaya? You scare her." He goes, "I did what you said." He goes, "Why is my patella hanging off the back of my knee?"
I'm not paying you now. He goes, "Oh yeah,
you're gonna pay me."
The worst ever is when they want to tell you to like roast somebody, like. And not just an audience member that walks over and goes, "Hey, it's my wife's birthday. You should make fun of her." Because that's an easy diffuse. You can be like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that because, whatever." Yeah. But it'll be like a corporate event, and they're like, "Make fun of Steve over in accounting. He got caught, cheating on his taxes, and his wife left him." And you're like, "Oh yeah, that'll be funny."
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
We took him here because he's suicidal. So pick on him.
Yeah, pick on him. Exactly.
It's funny you say that because I just did a show on a Sunday night last week, and first show I've done in a while, and it was at a club, and I get there and I'm hanging out talking to the manager, and this guy's going in. He goes, "You one of the comics?" "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, my buddy, he's a real asshole. Can you pick on him?"
Well, yeah, let me pick on the asshole that wants to kill me.
No, I have an act already. Thank you. And he goes, "You won't even fucking pick on him?" And he's getting all pissed off at us.
Right.
And finally, and he goes, "That's not what these guys do. Just sit down." It's like people don't understand truly what it is that we do sometimes.
Right.
No, they totally don't get it. I mean, how many times have you had that where I like to make them awkward when they make me awkward. "Oh, you're one of the comics? Can you pick on my buddy? It's his birthday." And I'm not really a comic. It's just the regular guy canceled. So I'm here.
I'm just here to fill time and tell some stories. Yeah, right.
There was one time, Mark, where a guy did that to me and said, "Can you pick on my buddy?" I go, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I got on stage and I picked on him instead. And just shit all over that guy. And his buddy that he wanted me to pick on is like, yeah. And I'm just shitting all over him for 10 minutes.
I told you, I did a show a couple of years ago, and I was so pissed because I had signed the contract. I got asked to do a show, and I was like, I can't do it. I go on this golf trip every year in April. I can't do it. I
remember the story.
And the guy's like, "Well, what about next year? They've seen you. They've seen your clips on YouTube. They really want you." I go, "All right, fine, next year." I fucking forgot, right? I didn't remember I signed a contract. So the guy calls me like 3 months before. And meanwhile, my golf trip ended up being scheduled the same week. So the guy called me, goes, "Hey, just want to check, make sure you're all set for, for a couple of weeks for the show up in, I think it was like fucking Syracuse or something."
And you're in Florida.
Now, meanwhile, I'm in Florida. So I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Remember you signed the contract last year. This was the gig I asked you about last year." I was like, "Oh, fuck. I never thought this thing would come through, right?" So I go, "All right, fine." So now I'm on a golf trip for like 7 days. I'm there for 2 days. I book a flight to go to Syracuse, stay in a shitty hotel, then fly back. Literally, it was a 24-hour gig, right? I flew in and flew out the next morning. I get there, and
so worth it though.
The lady, yeah, oh yeah,
the exposure.
The lady who hires me hands me this sheet and says, "Listen, one of the guys on the board of directors is retiring, and I want, they want you to roast him. So here's some information about him." Literally,
he's shaking his head already.
I can't. No, when somebody says you're gonna roast somebody, I'm like, no.
It's awful. They give me the information like 4 days before. Okay. I do my best to try and write some stuff, but it's literally like, oh, he's a Seattle Seahawks fan. Wow, there's a ton of shit.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, right.
It was saying,
wow, I mean, are we going to have enough time to cover all of the Seattle Seahawks?
Exactly. There were literally 4 fucking bullet points. And, so I do my best to write some stuff about it, right? So I'm ready to go up. And let me tell you, it was at this beautiful golf country club up in Syracuse. Beautiful place, fantastic dinner. They fed me. They good money. But
Turning Stone?
Right. No, it wasn't Turning Stone Casino. It wasn't the casino. It was just a golf country club. But I turn around and I go, I'm waiting to go up. And they go, all right, before we go up, the president of the company wants to get up and say a few words. The president of the company, who knows this guy retiring, proceeds to do a half-hour fucking roast on the guy. He knows him way better than I do. I have 4 fucking bullet points that I wrote some shitty jokes about. And this guy basically does every joke I wrote, and then even
in
more
detail.
Knows the guy, right? I didn't know what the hell else to do. So then I go up, I shit on the guy for like 2 minutes. I go, all right, look, I didn't know the president was going to take my act and do it beforehand. So you can go sit down, And then I start doing my act. And of course, it was the typical, I requested a stage and a wireless mic.
Did you have a podium?
Podium with a 2.5 foot fucking mic cord.
Yeah.
No stage.
Yeah.
It went from comedy show to TED Talk.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? So I do my act, and all of a sudden I'm doing a little bit of stuff that's not dirty, but a little like not politically correct. And everyone's looking, and they're looking at the president. I go, listen, stop looking at him to see if you can laugh, okay? Just fucking laugh if you're happy, all right? I said, where's the HR person? Because I know there's going to be an HR person here. And they said, she's at the bathroom. I go, so screw it. Who gives a shit? Laugh, Yeah. She's in the bathroom. She'll be in there for a while. Someone go block the door, I'm like, it was.
You shouldn't have dropped the N-word 4 times, though. I mean.
I know, I couldn't help it.
But that's his closer.
That's
Mark, that's his closer.
Yeah, just me. Just me. I talk about being Catholic the whole time.
He does an imitation of Stewie and Brian Griffin dropping N-words. He's got nothing else.
Oh my God! Speaking of saying
one of those.
Speaking of those,
so wrong.
I did.
You were one of those. Peter.
You were one of those.
Hey, isn't Cleveland one of those?
I did a show in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and the guy who's the MC is this really great, nice guy. And he goes up and he did a great job. He finishes, the feature's on, and he comes over to me and he goes, hey, man, what'd you think? And I go, I thought you were great, and I'm so glad you did it with your clothes on this time. Just busting chops, just making a quick joke. And his face kind of like he didn't get the joke, and I was like, it was good, man. Like, you did a great job. And I hit him on the shoulder. I go up, I do my act, and then afterwards, another comedian comes over to me while I'm at the bar after and goes, how did you know about the thing with Bob?
Seriously?
And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you said he did a good job, and you're happy he didn't take his clothes off. How did you know about that? He's really sensitive about that. And I go, I was just making that up. That was a joke. And they go, he got blacked out drunk and took all of his clothes off on stage.
Oh my God.
And they almost banned him from the club.
That is awesome.
So when I said that you shouldn't have said the N-word, all of a sudden I had like a Vietnam flashback of like, you shouldn't have made that joke, Mark.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Who the hell knew? Oh, wait a minute. We just got a comment from Justin. He goes, Stewie and Brian doing the Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor back and forth. Yeah. From like what was the prison movie? Stir Crazy. Oh yeah, that's right. We bad. Yeah, we bad.
We're bad, Stewie.
We're bad, Stewie.
We're bad, Stewie.
We're horrible.
We're horrible.
Oh yeah, we're bad. I'll cut a bitch.
Easy, Stewie.
All right, I don't know where that came from.
So you talk about nude on stage. I actually got booked for a show. They said it's at a campground.
Oh yeah,
one time.
Telling me that.
Is it in Connecticut?
Yes. Did you do this one?
The nudist
colony? Did you leave your clothes on?
I Winnie the Pooh'd it. No pants, but just
no
a shirt.
Pants, but a bra.
I just wore a shirt.
You're a better man than me.
First of all, here's what's making me laugh. Scott, I was with you on that gig.
Was that
you and I did the gig together?
Holy shit!
You met him before I did.
Holy shit! Asshole. That was you.
You finished your set and got the F out.
Oh hell yeah!
There was a guy in the front row. Do you remember? Yes. And every time he'd laugh, his chair would go back.
Yes.
And his tank would just go right.
It was out in the open, right up front. And they came in their own like bag chairs and stuff like that, and they're all naked. Oh my god, that was the most. Because I didn't know going in that it was going to be a nudist colony, and I'm pulling into this campground, and I'm seeing the people walking around.
Oh my god, that's so.
You and I both were laughing because they were all like, "Are you going to do it naked? Are you going to do it naked?" And I kept saying, "No, there's so many mosquitoes here."
Yes.
I'm not taking my clothes. I'm putting more on.
I said the same. I'm like, I don't want Triple E one of these things bite me on the balls or something like that. I
can't believe he worked with you before I worked with you, and he doesn't remember it. But I've heard this story.
I told Ace the story, and he goes, "Who'd you work with?" I'm like, I don't remember who it was.
Oh my god,
who's some Italian guy?
Yeah.
Like Murray.
I'm looking at the comments. Justin goes, "Dead honky." Now he's thinking of the Chevy Chase Richard Pryor scene from Saturday Night Live, and then.
Spirit chucker. Dead honky.
Cracker.
Did you have your wank out bucket list?
Did you have your wank out
bucket list experience? Because I'm Irish. And I'm not doing that.
And then he goes, he was naked, but it looked like he had a fur coat on.
You were there.
Wait, Justin Gonzalez Tenor he said him naked is like a button on a fur coat.
Yes. Who used to say that? I've heard that before.
Justin said it the other day when we were on the podcast. I lost it.
I've heard someone say that before, and I can't think of who the hell it was.
Say one time it looked like a shiitake mushroom on a bed of sprouts.
That's awesome.
There was like a million mosquitoes, and they're like, "Are you guys gonna?" They
said if you guys feel free to strip down and
wait a minute. I love the fact that like most people would just all right, fine, just to make everyone comfortable. Maybe I'll go in my underwear and take a shirt off. Mark, you Winnie the Pooh'd it. Like you went bottom down.
Oh no, that was my opening joke about
my tits, but I'll show you my dick.
I'll show you what I'm proud of, not what I'm embarrassed about.
I'd go waist down too if I was a
bucket list experiences said I definitely would have done the set naked. That's awesome.
No, you wouldn't have. Do you want a mosquito bite on the head of your dick?
No,
exactly.
Then they think you got herpes when you're with your girlfriend the next week.
Well, and there was that couple right in the front, and they had lounge chairs. Every time they laughed, it just like back,
and everything down below is wide open.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I couldn't eat meat and potatoes for like a year after.
I was off Mexican food. I didn't have tacos for 6 months.
Justin said, I think Kyle Kinane said it first. I seem to think, I don't know. I want to say Howard Stern said something similar, though.
It's a great visual. Who cares who said it? It's hysterical.
Hey, Robin. Hey, Robin. It's still a great story. Absolutely.
That was so. I have told that story 100 times because that was like, just because they didn't say anything, it's a campground. No, that's not just a campground.
No, it's a nudist colony.
You left out an important part.
I remember thinking, I'm not touching anything. I'm not going to sit on anything.
This was pre-COVID, and I'm wearing a mask. I'm sanitizing my hands every 5 minutes.
We had a nudist colony come to Stand Up New York.
Really?
And they did the same thing where they said to all the comics, and they paid the comics a lot of money, but they told all the comics, they go, if you want to perform naked, you can. You don't have to.
Yep.
And then they put sheets over the windows. We put so nobody could look in.
Yeah.
And they showed up on a bus and they walked in clothed. And I mean, I'm telling you, they didn't go into the room and strip. They stripped right there at the bar. Like they could not like clothes. As soon as they got their clothes off, they're allowed to be human again.
Wow.
And we put towels down because we're like, that's going to be the most disgusting game of bingo afterwards.
Yeah, right.
They just a bunch of puckered up assholes hitting the chairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did another nudist colony in Rhode Island, right in Foster, Rhode Island, but they had them wear clothes for the show.
Oh, they came in.
Yeah.
It's formal. Wear a tie.
They had to be clothed. It was a campground, so they had shorts and t-shirts and stuff on. Right. They said,
Black sock event.
Yeah, right. Yeah, one sock. Yeah,
one sock. But we knew going in it was a nudist colony. And I'll be honest with you, when I said, okay, I did one of these before. If that's what it is, I'm just stripping down this time. Screw it, because you learn that they're not thinking the same way that we are about it at all.
Right. No.
So screw it. When in Rome. But
so there's my wow moment number 2.
Okay. Yeah. Wow moment number 2.
That was my wow moment.
You got to work with Scott.
That was my wow
and
moment.
He didn't remember.
Holy shit. No, I couldn't remember for the longest time. Ace would always ask me, "Who was it that you worked with?" I'm like,
he
remember who
Scott bolted before he even got off stage. He was already in his car.
He had his auto remote start already before he got on stage.
The mic was still wiggling in the stand as my car was running. I was like, I am good. They're mailing us the check. I don't need to wait.
Yeah,
I remember.
Out of here.
Yeah, right.
You even said something.
Where that check's coming from.
You even said something to me like, "Hey man, no disrespect, but as soon as I get off stage, I'm gone. I'm not sticking around."
Before I went up, I'm like, "Hey, I'm not gonna hang around. I'm just gonna take off right after this. So have a good set."
I think I made a joke about I might not even be here when you introduce me.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
The crowd seemed to have fun, but I was not waiting around to shake hands afterwards.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to come back to our camper? We're roasting hot dogs. I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We're doing s'mores.
Yeah.
Would you like to join us?
No, I don't want some more or any more.
No.
Oh my god.
That was so. The people think comedy can fit anywhere.
No, yeah, exactly, and that's why we always, one of the things we always ask, and I know Richie has asked this on some of your shows, but we always end our show with the funny bad gig moment, and I think you may have already told it, but could have been the nudist.
Oh, I got worse.
No, it wasn't
but I'm sure you've got other.
Just strange.
But the funny bad gig is that gig where when you do it, it's not funny. It's just a bad gig. And you contemplate, why am I doing this? Why, maybe I shouldn't be doing comedy. But the further away you get from it, it starts to wear off and you're like, all right, that's kind of funny. And then you're in the green room or you're after a show and you're all telling the hell gig stories. And someone tells a story and you're like, oh, you think that's bad? Oh, wait, hold my beer.
Your one-up story.
Yeah, your one-up story. So, and anyone that's been doing it more than a year usually has at least one or two funny bad gig stories.
Okay, I apologize because they'll be long.
No, dude.
They're long. I'll let you pick
after us. So
I have
we're not
two
stepping on anybody else's show, so the time is yours.
Okay, so I have 2 different ones. I'll ask you guys. Okay. Do you want to hear about it's a bad idea to meet your heroes? Ooh. Or do you want to hear about racism goes both ways?
Oh, that's a tough
choice. We know racism goes both ways because we've got some friends.
I'm kind of leaning towards the hero one.
I want to hear the hero one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
first back on.
Yeah, we'll have you back on
the other one.
Okay. So My first corporate gig, and the reason that it popped into my I never heard of the Irish.
The Irish show. I had to put that up.
So
that's from when you said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here when you leave."
So the this story's fresh in my head just because you mentioned when we were talking about the upstate New York corporate gig, and I asked Turning Stone. Because my story takes place at the Turning Stone.
At Turning Stone Casino? Okay.
And I actually, a New England comic was on the show opening for me, Bill Campbell.
Oh, yeah, Bill. Yeah.
We had him on the podcast.
Bill, in fact, Bill
was on the marathon show with you guys.
He was on the marathon show with us.
I wanted to ask him when he was on so bad if he remembers this gig at all. So we got hired through like an agency or whatever. And I was like, very certain Bill was closing. Like it was like Bill's definitely closing. And I show up. This is my first corporate gig ever. This is the first time I ever had to dress up for a gig. Usually my gigs are in the city. You're wearing a hoodie,
right.
Sneakers. You're not dressing up for a show. So I had to go out and like buy a suit. Like I had to do all this stuff because I didn't have one.
Just for this one gig.
But I was getting a check that actually had zeros in it. Like it was like, oh my God.
For the suit, right.
This is a real show. And I drove all the way up to Syracuse by myself from New York City. I get there, I pull in. It's this giant, beautiful hotel. And they said when you go in and you check in, text this guy, he'll come down and meet you. He has like your room key or all that stuff already.
Yep.
And it was first class all the way. I walk in, I text him. And as soon as I text him, he goes, go out by the waterfall. I'll be out. We're all out back. The guys are golfing. I was like, oh, cool. So I go out. It's for Xerox. I don't know if you're Xerox. They were based out of Syracuse. So I go in, I text, I'm waiting by the water fountain. All of a sudden I look up and it's like 3 stories high, the waterfall, and there's a gigantic poster of Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright's playing the big theater that night. And I'm going, oh my God, he's like one of the reasons I wanted to be a comic. Yep. Him and Bobcat Goldthwait are the two like I look up to the most. And I'm looking, I go, I can't believe I made it. Like I fucking
in the same place as Stephen Wright.
Yeah. And I'm getting paid with a check. It's going to be awesome. And the check was going to the agent, but I was still getting a check with zeros on it, not just an envelope with a couple bucks and you can order on the left side of the menu. Like this was for real.
Right.
And I'm so excited. The guy shows up. He just got off the golf course. He's wearing stereotypical golf attire. And he just starts telling me about how he's so funny. I'm the funny guy at the office. I'm the guy. I don't even know why they hired a comic. They could have just had me. I could have went up. I would roast everybody in there. You better be busting chops tonight. You got to bust chops. There's no ladies here. It's just the office guys. We're playing golf. I'm telling you, you better bust chops. I go, yeah, okay, whatever. He gives me the key. I go back to my room. I'm so pumped up. I have my suit hanging up. I start to get ready. Put my tie on. I go down the steps. And I know I'm supposed to meet him. The entire walk to the gig, he's telling Bill and I about how he's you don't understand. When I'm by the water cooler, everybody, they duck out of the way because I'm so funny. And I just zing them left and right, man.
Yep.
We get up there and Bill goes, Bill and I both were kind of like, so how do you want to do this or whatever? They go, well, we're going to bring Bill up. He'll do, or no, yeah, we're going to bring Bill up. He's going to do his thing. Then we're going to hand out some awards. And then, Mark, we're going to turn over to you. You close out the night.
Oh, the intermission. Yeah, that's good.
And I go, wait, no, I think you have it mixed up. I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
And then Bill goes on. And they're like, no, you're going to close it. And you're going to. So Bill's only doing like 20 minutes. I'm doing a half hour. It's still not.
Meanwhile, Bill's like, yes.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's also getting a check with zeros.
Exactly. Only doing 20 minutes, right?
But I'm sweating. I'm sweating real hard because I'm a new comic and I know Bill from DJ. Like he's going to smoke this room and I'm going to go up and And we're waiting to go on, and we're sitting at the table, and they bring us like steak dinner and all that stuff. And they keep bringing us drinks, and they've been golfing all day. So they're all drunk out of their minds. Oh, yeah. And Bill's like, I don't drink. Like, I'm not a drinker. And they were like, oh, okay, whatever, more for you. And they kept pushing them over to me. I'm scared. So I keep going, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink.
Right.
So Bill goes up, does his thing. He crushes. He gets off stage. He leaves. And did like, as soon as he got off stage, he could see these guys are getting really drunk. Oh. So he was like, I'm pretty sure because he's sober, he was like, I'm just going to get out of here.
Yeah, right.
So he bolts. They do the awards. I go up, and they bring up a platter of tequila shots. There's like 8 tequila shots.
Guy comes up, let's all get more shit faced.
So I go up, and they just start yelling like every once in a while in between a joke. They drink. Oh. And I'm sitting there. I'm scared. What if I don't get my check because I?
Yeah, right. Because I'm not being funny.
Yeah, they go, oh, he got drunk and it ruined our. So I'm getting so nervous about the whole thing. I finally go to my last joke, and it was going okay. I didn't bomb or any and I go to my last joke, which I know is going to get a big laugh, and I go right before I hit the punchline. I go, and that's when I walked up to the street and I said, boom, 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 boom. I nail all 8 shots and go, bananas. Good night, everybody.
Oh,
they
my
go
God.
8 shit. They go crazy. I just slammed 8 shots of tequila without taking a breath.
That's insane.
I walk over to the guy who's my guide, and I tell him, I go, get me out of here now.
Yeah.
We got like 2 minutes, and I'm going to puke or black out. Right. So get me back to the hotel.
Yep.
So he grabs me. He's walking me through the thing. He's telling me how, oh, man, they really should have let me go up. Neither one of you guys made fun of the boss. Nobody made fun of Steve. Nobody made fun of. And I'm looking down at the carpet because I'm trying to not. I'm spinning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Have you ever seen casino carpeting?
Yeah,
it's even worse. I'm like, we get to the hotel part where the waterfall is, and I see the Stephen Wright poster. I go over to the elevators. I hit the button on the elevator. An elevator opens up. I walk in. I hit my floor, and I stand there. What I don't know is you're supposed to use your key card, put it in, hit the button, and you'll go up.
Right.
I just hit the button. The door shuts. I'm standing there.
Oh. It's not moving.
2 minutes might have went by. 3 hours. I have no idea how long I was in this elevator.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm standing in an elevator, and I think they call it browning out when you don't fully black out, but you lose time.
Yeah, you're still standing there, but you don't know what happened.
And all of a sudden I hear bing, and I open my eyes. The elevator doors open up. Fucking Stephen Wright walks in.
No.
And he's looking at me, wondering why I'm just standing there.
Not getting off.
Yeah.
Did you come from another floor? No.
When you make Stephen Wright go, look at this weirdo. You're weird.
One of the guys that made you want to do comedy.
Oh my God.
And so that's going through my head. Holy shit, Stephen Wright's in the elevator room. This is the entire reason I'm here. The whole reason it's kismet. There's a reason that this is happening. Right. I have to tell him that I'm a comedian and I'm here, and it's because of him. All this is going through my head. He put his key in, hit the button, and he looks at me and goes, what floor? And I go, it's 7. And he hits 7 for me. Yep. And then he didn't hit his button until after he hit 7. We go up in the elevator, and I'm wobbling still. The door opens up, and I go to walk off the elevator, and I realize I didn't say one thing to him.
You forgot to say it.
I forgot to say anything. So I turn around, and right as the door shuts, I go, I'm a comedian too. And it just...
Did you? Now, did you ever meet him after and tell him that story to remind him?
No. If we ever have Stephen Wright on, he's gonna be like, this one time.
He's gonna tell his funny bad gig story. He goes, Some guy was really drunk.
And he was just wobbling in the elevator.
Yeah, exactly. And then he got off the elevator and he was like, I'm a comedian too. And the elevator closed.
But I said the exact same line that was pissing me off earlier when the guy was telling me he should be a comedian.
Right, exactly.
He told somebody that story.
Exactly.
He told several people that story.
Yeah.
You should have seen this drunk guy.
You should have seen this guy. Yeah. Supposedly he's a comedian. I don't know.
And Ace
awesome.
and I talk about that all the time, that it's so hard, especially when we first started and you get to work with someone
with a hero
to the first time, or even early on, and you try not to fanboy out.
Yeah.
And one of the first big names I got to work with was Jeff Garland. Curb Your Enthusiasm had just started, and the crowd was packed with people with their box set of DVDs of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and they wanted him to sign it. And I was the feature act, and I forgot who the host was that night, but the host was just obnoxious. And the host kept going, oh man, you should have me on that show. I would kill it on that show. Man, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm sitting in the green room with him, and the manager comes in and goes, Jeff, can I get you anything? He goes, yeah, get that fucking guy out of here. If he comes in here again, I am not going on that fucking stage. And I'm like, oh shit. I wanted to ask this guy for a picture. I'm afraid to talk to him because he is pissed.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there. Now I have a flip phone at the time. I'm pretending to do stuff on my flip phone. It's not like a smartphone back then, because I just want to pretend
I'm going on
doing
Facebook
something.
On my StarTAC.
And I'm like, okay, you don't talk to him, just leave him alone. He's pissed off, and he's reading something, and he goes, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I don't even know if I should answer him at this point.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, I got a line in the script that I wrote here, and he reads me the line. And he goes, is that too harsh? And it was a line about a retarded kid, and I said, as a comedian, very funny. But to the average audience member, might be a little harsh. He goes, yeah, you're right. I'm fucking leaving it in there. And we both started laughing, and it kind of broke the ice, and it was okay. And I had to keep over and over in my head the whole time I'm sitting there is, okay, don't freak out. Don't say anything stupid.
Yeah.
And you know what? He ended up being nice, and he did take a picture with me, but I felt like I was walking on eggshells all night long. And when he took the picture with me, the guy that was hosting goes, hey, can I get a picture next? And he goes, fuck you. Get out of here. And I instantly was like, oh my God. I just went back again. And that was just a really good lesson for me with these guys is they just want you to be another comic.
Yeah.
Hanging out with them in the back. You're not a fan. You're just another comic. So as I got to work with bigger names, you mentioned Jim Norton before. I got to work with him.
Yeah.
And same thing. I got to hang out with him in the back, and I just tried to be another comic. And I was able to have a conversation with him because of that.
Right. I've been on both sides of that, the fanboy thing. Because when I worked at Stand Up New York, we would have Robin Williams come in, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock. Right. And I was the door guy. So there was no can I get a picture with you? I couldn't do that. No, but I had to. But if somebody in the audience came over, George Carlin came in before, and people in the audience would come over and start bothering him, I would go over and go, you have to leave. You have to leave him alone. You can't. No pictures in the lobby. No pictures of the whatever. And then he would get to go. Robin Williams would go, oh, no, it's okay. And I go, no, club policy. You have to go in the room. Okay, well, after the show, if you guys want a picture, I'll be outside. He isn't going to be outside. He's taking off right after his set. And as soon as I would push the person in the room, he'd go, thank you. I just wanted to go over my notes. And so I got to be that guy. And I learned, you have to be cool around.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I learned is before the show, leave them alone. After the show, usually they're a little bit more generous because the show's over and they're
not thinking about their notebook.
Exactly.
Right. Because if someone at that level is coming in, they're running new material. Right. You know what I mean? They're trying to work shit out.
Because Jim Norton, after the show was over, I said, Jimmy, I know there's a ton of people waiting to meet you. I'll hang around for a bit. I'd love to get a picture with you. And he goes, absolutely. No problem. So I'm just waiting in the back of the room, letting the line of people that are buying stuff from him and doing pictures and stuff. and he just stops all of a sudden, and he goes, "Hey, you wanted a picture, right?" And I'm like, "Jimmy, there's a line of people. I can wait." And he goes, "No. You want to get out of here?" He goes, "Come up here and get a picture."
That's awesome.
And he did a picture of me, and he let me.
That's class.
And he goes, "You're a comic. You need to get out of here." He goes, "These guys can wait. They'll still be here."
You know what?
And he was really cool about it. And then I called into Opie and Anthony like a week later, when they were talking about a certain subject, and he remembered me, and let me promote my website and everything like that. And it was just, he ended up being
awesome. That's really classy
cool guy. Yeah, and again, I think that's because I learned a quick lesson early on about not being a dickhead.
Don't fuck with Jeff Garland
when these guys were around.
Well, that's what I did when I worked with Mark in my church. I was kind of.
I thought he was a priest.
I played it too cool at the nudist colony.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Off. Yeah, and then was a dick and didn't remember his fucking name.
Yeah, see, I played it way too cool.
All right,
I played it way too cool.
The only time I ever fanboyed and was so embarrassed of my behavior while I was doing it was I was at the Woodstock Film Festival and Bobcat Goldthwait's movie was in it.
Oh, yep.
And so I went to the official first screening of what the hell was it called? Willow. It's the Bigfoot one. The found footage Bigfoot one.
That's like the lost footage of the people that were searching for Bigfoot.
And I loved it so much, and I love him. I love everything he does. I love his stand-up. I love his story. I love the fact that he just makes movies for himself. He doesn't allow studios to be involved, even though he'd get more money, because he wants to make the movies he wants. And I started talking to him afterwards, and I was tripping over my words. Yeah. And I was trying to explain to him that I'm a comedian. I was trying to explain it to him that I knew a bunch of his friends, a lot of the Boston guys. Yeah. But I was a New York guy. And as I was explaining it, he was like, "All right, you can slow down."
Yeah, right.
Like, why don't you just talk to me about, whatever. Right. And you could feel it. You could feel it totally being okay, buddy, relax. Just and as I was
down, right.
And I'm going but you see, DJ Hazard's a friend of mine, and you like Lenny Clark, and
you know him, yeah.
And then he goes, sometimes. And he actually was like, "So what's the scene like in Boston?" And I'm like, "I'm not in Boston. I'm a New York guy." And I was just and as I'm talking, I'm like, "Mark, just shut the fuck up.
Right.
Just talk to him." Right. And I was too busy. Justin,
it's so hard though, because all right. So I've told this story before too. I have been doing an impression of Bobcat since probably when I first started, and I still do it. I do Bobcat and Gilbert Gottfried as morning radio show hosts, like AM radio,
and those are two of your best impressions.
And right, so. Here I am opening for Bobcat in Boston, and it was after he had kind of shed the whole character. But that's what I do, is the character, So, how you doing? And I'm so fucking afraid to even let on. So I cut that part out of my act that night, and everyone's like, "Why didn't you do the Bobcat and Gilbert thing? You were working with Bobcat." I go, "Because I didn't want to be a douchebag." Because he doesn't do that anymore. And he's trying
after the show. You do the bit after the show. He brings you in the back. I don't know if you know. I don't do that no more.
Exactly. I don't know if you know.
Or he chews you out. What the fuck are you doing?
Were you thinking? Yeah.
That would be the worst.
Gilbert Gottfried would never do morning radio.
No, right. Yeah. No, but see, here's the funny thing is, I would not feel uncomfortable doing it in front of Gilbert. I did in front of Bobcat, but Gilbert, I would totally do it.
I have no problem doing it. It's not really a big issue. That's one of the best Gilberts I've ever heard. I'm sorry.
I'm
gonna make that the ringtone on my phone.
Listen, I made it known. We've got a guy up here in New England that books Gilbert a couple of times a year.
Yep.
And I've already made it known on the show that, I don't even care. I don't even want to get paid for that night. I just want to open for Gilbert.
Well, Robbie Rob?
Get a picture with him. Yeah, Rob. Yeah, Rob. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's a million nightmare stories with Gilbert where people like drove him to a gig and he didn't talk for like 4 hours and wouldn't do it, and he makes it really awkward, and everybody's telling me how weird Gilbert is and whatever. And I'm really tight with Provenza, and they're like best friends. So like I'm sitting there thinking like I'll be fine. My family's with me. We're doing the gig, and I brought my family because my oldest son, we nickname him Gilbert.
Yep.
Because when he runs or does anything, we're like, oh my God, he looks like Gilbert Godfrey.
That's awesome.
So we do this gig, and I said to Provenza, I go, look, I'm working with Gilbert. I don't want to name drop you. I'll feel like a dork. But is there something maybe I like that he's into that I can like kind of talk about?
Stimulate conversation.
when we're in the green room, I can bring up old movies and I'll go, oh, you like that movie? Yeah. And
talk about Dracula. He loves Dracula. So night.
And he makes a joke about Provenza goes, just offer him something for free. He goes, Gilbert's estate sale is going to be the funniest thing. Here we found 3 crates of ketchup packets in the Gilbert Godfrey estate. So I'm like, okay, we're in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I have a friend who owns one of the best Italian restaurants in Scranton. It's so good. And I know they would love it if I brought Gilbert in, and I would love for Gilbert to meet my kids, and selfishly I want to get a picture of the 2 Gilberts together. And so I said to him, I go, hey man, tomorrow I'm going to go to lunch at my friend's restaurant. If you want to go, it's my treat. You know, I'd love for you to come. You can meet my family. And he has 2 kids that are
that were younger, right?
Close to the same age as my kids.
Yep.
So I go, you know, I'm going to go with my family. I totally get it if you don't want to go. Like you don't have to. But if you want, you know, whatever.
I'm sorry, did you say you were treating? Sure, I'll be there.
So he was like, that sounds good. That sounds good. So I go back to the room and I'm telling my wife in the morning while we're playing with the kids, and I go, I forgot to get his number, and I'm not going to call Paul to get his number to invite him. So we'll probably, whenever you guys want to go get something to eat, we'll just go. And then all of a sudden my room phone rings. And I pick up, and my wife could hear him from the other side of the room. I'm inquiring about the free lunch.
I love it. Oh, my God.
So I'm telling my wife, I go, listen, I've heard rumors that he's a little weird. I mean, he's nice in the green room, but like, you know, we're going over our notes, so we don't talk much. I go, so it might be really awkward, and I'm really sorry if it is. And she's like, no, this will be fun. It'll be great, whatever. We get in the car. I have my 2 kids, my wife, and Gilbert. And as soon as he gets in the car, he talks until we drop him off and basically have to push him in the elevator.
Really?
He's talking to my kids. And
because he's on that level.
And he just...
around kids, right?
And I think when they didn't all of a sudden go, hey, that's the bird from Aladdin, because my kids don't really watch movies. So... they had no recollection, so they just talked to him.
Wow. And, like, oh, you're working with my dad this weekend. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they hit it off at the end of the weekend.
Wow.
I told Gilbert, call me when you're packing the car, because his suitcases were bigger than him.
Yeah.
You know, and he has like the muscle tone of a scallop. That's a Rich Voss line. I shouldn't take credit for that.
That's a great line.
So that I go, I'll take your suitcases out for you, you know, just to be a gentleman or whatever. And he pulls up and I go to load the suitcases in, and he goes, your kids aren't going to come down and say goodbye? I was like, I'll call them. Cool. I called them. They came right down. They took pictures with them. They were hugging them.
Cool. Listen, I loved, you know, I watched his documentary, Gilbert, you know, and it really gave you an insight. Like, yeah, he is. He's just a big child right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His wife is a sweetheart. I'll never forget. I was with my ex-wife. My ex-wife is from the Berkshires. And
that's where they live.
Well, and I didn't know that's where they lived, but I knew. I was at the Berkshire Mall one day around Christmas time, and I see this little guy in these cargo shorts and a t-shirt, and he's like this. And my ex-father-in-law looks at me and he goes, "Hey, isn't that the guy you do on stage?" He didn't know his name. And I go, "Holy shit, that's Gilbert Gottfried in the fucking Berkshire Mall. Holy shit." Like, but he was there with his kids, so I didn't want to be a jerk and go up and go, "Oh, Gilbert," you know, and but it was so friggin' weird seeing him there. You know?
Oh, he's another one with the legendary stories. Just imagine if you could go into his brain for a little bit and just visit memories.
That would be an exciting and a scary place at the same time. That brain would be amazing to visit for a while.
Justin just put up great doc. Yeah, that was an awesome documentary, the Gilbert documentary. If you haven't watched it, you got to watch it because you know it just shows he's eccentric. That's
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's a great one because it really shows like his wife is a sweetheart. She's an absolute doll. And she kind of like takes care of him because he is like a big child. But it's great because they talk to his mom and.
Well, did you see on Netflix the Bumping Mics?
Oh yeah.
They had one of the episodes with him on it.
Oh really?
And after they go out, you know, it was Dave and
is it
Jeff Ross?
Yeah,
and Bob Saget and Gilbert Gottfried. They go out for. Corned beef sandwiches, gigantic corned beef sandwiches, and they're dropping Gilbert off and everything, and he's freaking hilarious.
Oh, he's just
and him introducing those guys and telling these horrific jokes is just awesome.
I still can't get over when you work with him. The first 5 minutes watching the flow of people who are going to walk out.
Yeah,
because they don't.
What did you expect?
They don't understand. They're like, it's the guy from Aladdin.
Right.
It's the principal from Problem Child.
Right.
It's like, have you never heard any of his things?
Yeah,
when he was on like Letterman and shit.
Right.
They're so out there.
You heard he's not the Affleck doc because of what he said.
Well, it's like Bob, it's like Bob Saget when he talked about when he first got famous on.
Growing Pains.
No, not Growing Pains.
Full House.
Full House.
Full House. Yeah.
And he would do a stand-up tour, and people would be in the audience with their kids.
Yeah. And like, oh, it's Danny Tanner. No, it's not Danny Tanner.
And he is raunchy dirty.
Right.
They were doing. Is it CBS or NBC, whichever channel that Full House was on? Was doing some kind of a reunion thing, and this was like in 2000, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And John Stamos, Rebecca Romaine Stamos, they all came to the comedy club and were just hanging out. And he goes, "Do you guys care if I go on?" We're like, "Of course." And he goes up and he proceeds to talk about.
He's doing his act, which is filthy, right?
Yeah.
And like he's talking about eating John Stamos's ass.
Yeah.
And like everybody in the crowd staring at John Stamos, and they're howling, laughing. He's talking about banging the Olsen twins before they were famous.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he was in minors.
Yeah, he's horrible. Well, I remember on one of the reunion shows, what's her name, Candace Cameron, was like, "Oh yeah, they used to have to keep him away because he would tell dirty jokes," and all the parents were like, "Would you stop? There's like little kids on the set, you know."
It's so good.
You know what? Funny. People are who they are, and that's the thing. You can't necessarily change them. Like I think, unfortunately, for guys like Bob Saget, they had this wholesome, image because of Full House and because of America's Funniest Videos.
Yeah.
It's Bob Saget. But when he was doing stand-up, he was always dirty.
But if you watch Entourage, his character on Entourage, I think was truer to the real Bob Saget.
Oh, absolutely.
Than anything he ever did in anything else. I'm watching that going, yeah, that's just Bob Saget.
Absolutely.
There's no acting there whatsoever.
No. No, you're right. You're right.
But you go to these legend comics and you just want to hear those stories.
And that's it. Yeah.
I was on the I was on the road with in the Middle East, actually, with Elaine Boozler. And I'm like, I'm going to hear the greatest stories of all time. Like these, she dated Robin Williams. She dated Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
She was the alpha male in the 70s when the comics struck. She was the alpha. These are going to be the greatest stories. And then she drops on me, my husband used to manage the Doors. I'm like, all right, I don't want to hear your stories anymore.
Yeah, let's bring
Bill in.
Yeah, exactly. What was Three Man's Eric like?
Oh
yeah,
my
right.
God.
Holy shit.
Like you could just spend like months with them and just record all the stories. It's unbelievable.
And you know, that was a whole reason we started this podcast, and is, you know, some of the stories, you know, I go back over the years to some of the great comics we've got to talk to, and some of the great stories we've heard, and the crazy situations that comedians have been in over the years, and some of the crazy stories, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And
at any level.
one thing I've learned with comedians, I can't talk about all art forms, is most comedians are pretty down to earth guys, because we're doing something, you know, you think about it, the number one fear most people have is public speaking.
Yeah.
And we choose to not only do public speaking, we're choosing to make a crowd of people laugh, which is even harder than public speaking.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing two things that nobody in their right mind would ever want to do. And so I find that most comedians, if you just talk to them on a human level, are just down to earth people.
Yeah.
They're willing to share, you know, these stories with you. And I feel so lucky that I get to sit in the seat and talk to people like you every single week, Mark. It's just, it's amazing.
I love our jobs.
I do. I just love every minute of it, and I love to talk about it.
And I have to say, I love getting on stage and making people laugh. But I you know, since we started doing this podcast, I love talking to other comics. You know, I love learning about other people. I love learning about what their story is, how they got started, how they got into comedy, some of the shitty gigs. Because, you know, the worst is when you do a shitty gig and you feel horrible and you're questioning whether or not you should be doing this. And then you talk to guys like DJ Hazard or Paul D'Angelo, or, you know, I don't know.
Like we've had Bobby Collins and Bob Marley share their bad gig stories.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh, all right. I don't just suck. Like, other people who I look up to have also had these shitty gigs, you know? And it makes you feel, it only makes you feel more camaraderie among each other.
We should celebrate each other. And that's
exactly.
Friday, we have a group of all newer comics, female comics, that are coming on to talk about that documentary Hysterical that just came out, about the female scene in New York and LA. And it's funny because a lot of the things on here, a lot of the things on that documentary are like, yeah, we're all in this mess together.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all, and pardon the pun, because, or the wording, because of it being about female, but we're all brothers in arms in this.
And sisters. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I think what happens is when you start doing comedy and you're going to open mic nights, you're like, am I as good as that one? Like, I remember starting comedy, and with my ex-fiance, I would be like, am I as good as that guy? Am I on that level? Like, you know, there's this competition. And then you stop and you realize, like, the only person I'm really competing against is myself.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just going to say that. Know? As soon as you realize I'm not competing with them, I just need to be me and improve myself. That's when you truly.
And Mark made the point earlier about the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not competing against any other podcast. Look, we're not going to get 40 million or however.
We're not Joe Rogan.
We're not Joe Rogan. But you know what? If we can get 20,000 downloads in a month, I'm fucking happy. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
As long as I can bring something to people where they enjoy listening to these stories, that's all I care about.
And can you make the podcast you would want to listen to? Because the idea of what you want to listen to and the idea of what I want to listen to is not the same of what Joe Rogan wants to listen to.
Exactly.
And I respect the Joe Rogans. I respect the Opie and Anthony's. I respect the guys who push the envelope. I want to hear great stories. I want to hear. I wish there was a history comedy subject that were taught at colleges. I would want to be a professor.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about the beginning of stand-up. Let's talk about Lenny Bruce, and then George Carlin and Richard Pryor,
and even further back than Lenny Bruce. Go back to vaudeville days.
Right.
He talks about some of the people that
Abbott and Costello
started with stuff back then. And I think one of the things, and Martin Olson, we mentioned him earlier, brought it up to us that when we talk about some of the guys that we've had on our podcast, he talked about Paul Barclay, and we talked about the history of Boston comedy and the start of it and the boom. And we've had the Mike Donovans on, the Mike McDonald's. We've had, these guys that were there at the beginning.
Right.
We have an archive of a history of that. From when it started and guys that have been through it and everything. And to me, that's one of the things that I'm proudest of with this podcast is we've been able to archive those stories of what it was like then, what it was like coming through that time, and then what it's like now.
Yeah.
And, where it started, where it went, and where it is now. And that's one of the things I'm probably the most proud of that we've done over the last 5 years is kind of archive all those stories and get, all that perspective from all those different people.
And look, for 20 years, I've been searching every story. If there's a comic that has a story to tell, I'll sit and listen. Yeah. And I always thought Mark Twain was the first American comedian.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Yeah.
He wasn't. I found out this year. I knocked my camera out. I found out this year.
There you are.
This is a weird camera. This is the. This year I found out from Rich Scheidner that there was a guy who inspired Mark Twain named Artemus Ward, and he told me this story of this guy who was so unbelievable, and Rich wrote a script, and it's so good. And you'll always learn, no matter how much you think you know. You continue to learn.
Always more to learn. Wow.
So, Mark, thank you so much for being on tonight. I love that we were able to start our Twitch part of our podcast with you on tonight. I think this was the perfect way to start this. You got a great story for a guy that I didn't really want to start stand up, but I fell into it anyway. The fact that I found out that it was you that was on the nudity show with me, and
do you know how many times I've asked him who was on that show with you? I can't remember the guy's name.
I want to go back and listen to find your podcast in your archives. And you're gonna be like, some hack asshole was on the show.
Honestly, I've never said that.
I'm just teasing.
Positive, I've never said that.
No, I just couldn't remember it.
I just said I did my set and I got the hell out of it because I was so uncomfortable with it. Because I think I was still relatively new. I was less than 10 years in anyway, or barely 10 years in when I did that. So I was like, I'm getting the hell out of here when this is done. This was just a great way for us to start our Twitch adventure, if you will, part of the program. And, we've talked about you a lot, recently. So I'm glad we finally had a chance to have you on.
Yes, thank you for having me, man.
And learn more about you, and we've also talked about like Richie. We want to get Richie on because you know what?
Definitely want to talk to Richie.
I have to say, I went on the we did our set on the
Guinness show,
the Guinness show, the Guinness Book of World Records fundraiser, and then I went on a couple of other times, but I have to say, by the end of that weekend, I felt like I've known Richie my whole life. He just has that he's like you. He just has that aura about him that you're like, I feel like I've known this guy my whole life.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
He was. I was watching that weekend and watching you guys and interacting with the different guests and everything like that. I was like, this is great. I can't wait to talk to the two of those guys.
Yeah. So we appreciate that you came on for our inaugural show. For the audience, just to let you know, next week we have Al Romas, who is
God, I love Al.
And you know what? Al was one of those first Omnipop guys that I worked with back in the 80s and early 90s. And he does a podcast himself. He's been they started off with a web series, and it was the Two Dicks. And it's Al and Al.
Yes. And we've already had Al Ducharme on, his partner from the Two Dicks.
Right, because Al Ducharme was one of those guys when I started. You know, I was like one of the open mic guys, and then the upperclassmen were Al Ducharme, Joe Rogan, Tom Cotter, Greg Fitzsimmons. These were all guys that were at Periwinkle's. And, you know, Al Romas then came on afterwards, where I got to work with him at the Comedy Connection for years. So I'm really excited to have him on next week. And we've got some really, really great guests coming up. So please keep checking out the Twitch channel. Keep checking out, you know, it's going to come out a couple of weeks after on all the regular streaming podcast platforms. But
check out Behind the Funny every Wednesday night, 8:30. We'll be here.
We say 8:30 to 9:30, but it's 10:36. So
that's why I just said 8:30. We will start at 8:30 at Twitch.
Yeah, listen, if we're having fun, we don't give a shit. We're having fun.
As long as we don't step on somebody else's time slot.
No one else.
Listen, I said I'd do a half hour. We're at hour 2.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But twitch.tv, drinks, jokes, and storytelling, but not just our show.
Check out the other shows.
Go on Twitch. Check out every night. They have an amazing lineup of shows.
We were watching the show before us.
Yeah.
Justin's podcast. They were playing games and shit like that.
Ace and I are like, oh shit, we got to start our show.
I know, but I want to join and play this game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No. And yes.
Well, I'm going to add you both. We do a Sunday thing with all the hosts. We all come together and hang out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let us know. And I don't know, drinks, jokes, and storytelling. I don't know who this is. If this is Tom. But they said we would love to get you guys on that comedy fundraiser on the 15th with us. Are you guys doing another fundraiser?
We're doing another one. It's only going to be 24 hours though. So
we don't do shitty little fundraisers like that.
No, we'd love to come on. You let us know.
We're going to set up a time.
Ones that are 100 hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're only breaking Guinness Book of World Records.
24 hours. What kind of shit fundraiser is that? No, but yeah, we would be honored to be part of that. So
we'd love to. And Justin from the Justin Show just posted too. He said, "Come and play from the audience next time." We definitely will, Justin.
Yeah,
because you know we're happy that we've got a lead in from show, so we're leading in from the Justin Show. Yeah. So we'll come on a little bit early and we'll start playing some of the games.
Those guys had a great show before our show. So Justin, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. So.
Absolutely.
And Mark, thanks again.
What can we promote for you, Mark?
Friday,
none of us are doing shows. So
Friday, Eddie Brill will be on at 2:30.
Great show.
Eddie Brill.
Yeah, so if you guys are around Friday 2:30, we're going to talk about the difference between working the city and working the road.
Yeah,
we're going to have a couple comics come on, and we're going to chat it up about that. And then next Wednesday at 3:00, we have Paul Verzi.
Oh, that's awesome. Paul Verzi's an awesome
another
guy
great
too.
Yeah. See, like I said, check out the channel. A lot of great shows. Eddie
Brill is one of the first national headliners I ever worked with.
All right. Save that story for another day.
Yeah, all right. Awesome guy. I love it.
We don't do 3-hour podcasts.
No, we want to get him on.
We're not Joe Rogan.
And Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling said, Ace, let them know your Twitch channel. So it's Ace Aceto 68 is our Twitch channel as well. So if you want to join our channel as well. In the meantime, we're going to be broadcasting this show on both channels anyway for a while. But check out Ace Aceto 68 on Twitch. We really appreciate it.
Mark, thanks again.
Thank you
so much, Mark. We appreciate it. And other than that,
we will talk to you
next week.